Well, good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations on celebrating your 15th annual GIS Day. I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to be with you, as well as to sponsor and contribute in providing some wonderful prizes for some of the fun stuff I've seen you guys do all day today. I'm also very grateful to the organizers of this event to put me right next to Brian at LA County Department of Public Works, because I'll actually be talking a little bit and sort of carrying on some of this, this conversation, but in the realm of talking about data collection for GIS, not for survey, but for GIS. And when you look at GIS and really what is required for successful GIS, of course, having data is a really big important part of that. And where does that data come from? Well, of course, you have a lot of different sources for that, everything ranging from maps that you create, ArcGIS Online, the LARIAC project, which fun fact, I was actually part of the vendor team for the original LARIAC project way back in the mid 2000s. But how do we enable people to collect more data on the spot, ready to go whenever they want to be able to do that? And that's the problem that I've been working on for the last number of years, is how do we create opportunities for everyone to go out and collect data? There are things that surveyors should do, either by practice or by law, but then there's so many other opportunities to go out and collect data as a part of the everyday GIS needs and requirements, whether that might be collecting information about trees or signs or any sort of asset that might be out there where you might want to go out and collect additional information. And that's what Spike is all about. Spike is a measurement and location solution that went to go and tackle how do we enable anybody to go out and collect data simply by using mobile devices for which you already have, and bring measurements and GPS location within reach for millions of new users simply by taking a photo. So we have about 50,000 users worldwide now using it for all sorts of applications, and I'll get into some more details around that. But what we really sought to do was to work with and capture this incredible trend of where people are seeking to use smartphones and their tablets, their mobile devices, in more than just that personal context. And so our vision was to create a very unique measuring capability so that any field worker who had a need or a requirement to go out and collect data could do it and get the answer that they needed right then and there on the spot. Because we want to take things that are complex, things that are very difficult to do because they're big, they're out of reach, or require tools that are too complicated or too expensive, and make it accessible, make it a consumable solution for anyone. And we've been very successful in doing that. As I said before, we have 50,000 users all around the world doing all sorts of different applications, but we've also partnered with great organizations like Esri and others to be able to construct not only just how you collect data, because if you've ever collected data in the field, you know how hard it is to actually to set it up and then to be able to go out and get data. But then there's so much more about it. How do we organize the data? How do we store the data? How do we provide answers based upon the data that we've collected? And so with Spike and that solution, what we've done is that we've simply just taken a laser. I say simple, but it's actually more complicated than that, I'm sure, as you can appreciate, where we take a laser, we attach it to the back of a smartphone or tablet. It connects via Bluetooth to a mobile device. You then simply get the Spike mobile app, install it, and then from there, you're able to point your camera with the mobile device to any object, take a photo. The laser is set scale, and then we do some other steps with the compass and the inclinometer of the mobile device to essentially orthorectify the image so that everything is accurate, the pixels are properly aligned within the image. The Spike app itself operates on iOS and Android devices. And what you can do with it is very simple, but very extraordinary for the right applications. The first is, you just use it to see how far away something is. standing where at a location, putting the laser on a target and saying this is this far away, and then being able to capture a photo and be able to show that distance along with it. That's a great application to use for things such as being able to prove whether something is within the right of way, or just be able to figure out how much clearance that you might happen to have between two buildings or a tree in a building or something else because you're trying to get heavy equipment through. But one of the most popular applications that we have is just GPS location with a distance offset. So we capture two GPS locations. We capture the GPS location of the mobile device itself. A lot of people do that, but because we have the laser, the compass, and the inclinometer, we can then calculate the GPS location of the X and the Y and the Z coordinate at a distance up to 650 feet away. Now, that's a very nice application to have. There are solutions out there that allow you to be able to do that, of course, but to be able to provide that in a point and click solution is something that is unique to what we do. And something that makes it accessible for and more easily accessible for just about anybody to be able to complete. Then we get to what really people know us for, which is that photo measure, which you can see here on screen of where we have the photo with the measurements embossed within it. That is simply taking a photo of, say, for example, this sign, and then being able to draw measurements right on the screen. The measurements, whether that be area, lengths, or perimeter, are all captured and then saved within the metadata, as well as the location information as well. And then we also do point-to-point measurement. Point-to-point measurement is simply being able to capture measurements between two objects in a 3D space. So once again, imagine I'm standing in front of a building and a tree. I put the laser on the tree. I put then the laser on the building. It calculates the distance between those two points. Now you see the accuracy here, which is plus or minus 1% for photo measure and plus or minus 3% for point-to-point measurement. And let me address that and make that very clear to you, because I think this really helps people to understand where Spike fits within that toolkit, and the difference between doing field data collection for GIS versus a survey application is quite different. So with photo measurement, we say it's accurate within plus or minus 1%. So what that means is that it's accurate within plus or minus 1% of the real world measurement. So if that sign measures 1 foot by 2 foot, it's going to be accurate within plus or minus 1% of that measurement. And then the same goes with point to point with plus or minus 3%. So if there's a distance measurement of 100 feet, plus or minus 3% on either side of that, that is a good measurement for us. And so that certainly isn't survey grade. And so these types of technologies, this type of field data collection shouldn't be used in that context. But it certainly can be used for GIS, mapping, estimation types of solutions and applications for which you need to go out and be able to map your trees, for example, or where are your assets such as park benches within playgrounds. We've done campground mapping and all sorts of wildlife mapping, all sorts of wild things where people just simply needed to be able to go out and get the data for themselves using novice or intermediate users, using a mobile solution to go out and collect that data and get it within their GIS. Now, one of the questions that you might have is that, well, what GPS are we using? Well, the Spike solution itself natively uses the GPS location information that comes from the mobile device. And if you've done field data collection with a mobile device, you'll might say, well, that's really not quite good enough. And for some applications, that's true. But what we've done is that we've been able to work with companies such as EOS Aero, Trimble, Bad Elf, Juniper, and others that make third-party GPS solutions that Bluetooth also into a mobile device, so that we're reading that information as well. And so that's a nice complement to our solutions. But really what sets us apart with these photo measures and point-to-point measurements and other things, especially from free apps and a lot of other solutions that are out there, are our integrations with our partners such as Esri, Autodesk, Adobe Illustrator, and others. And it's the Esri partnership I'm going to talk more about here in just a little bit. But when those photos, those measurements, that all that metadata we collect automatically populates into those survey 1, 2, 3 forms, that's really incredibly powerful. And when we were building that survey 1, 2, 3 solution and integration with Spike, we went out and we asked this question over and over and over again. Why aren't you doing more field data collection? I'm sure some of you out there already know this answer. You're actually shaking your head up and down. Believe me, I know, which is that it's always been really hard and expensive. So, to go out and to buy traditional mapping devices used to cost $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, depending upon what you were getting. Spike is $499. So easily purchased, easily scalable for projects. It's hard to set up. You can learn Spike and set up your Survey 123 forms in just a couple of hours. Easy to deploy, easy to manage. These are things that are real challenges when it comes to field data collection. I'm sure a number of you have said, boy, we're supposed to go out and collect all this information about this valves. Well, this is going to take a while to be able to do. Maybe you put off projects because it's been too hard. But that's the one thing that I'm really proud of what ikeGPS and Esri has been able to do, is that we've taken away a lot of those issues. It's no longer costly and time consuming and resource heavy. It's much safer. It's much safer if you don't have to do what this surveyor is doing, or have to climb ladders or get bucket trucks to be able to reach things, to be able to hand measure them. Just take photos of them, measure them, locate them, and then automatically populate them into forms like we have here with Survey 123. And once again, the whole concept between Spike and Survey 123 by Esri is to create this combined tool set that not only boosts field data capture productivity, but enables a lot of people to go out and collect data. And this is especially helpful in times of need. So Spike has been used and Survey 123 has been used a number of times for disaster response, for earthquakes and hurricanes and other storm response and fire response. But even just for the regular things of just, how do we know what we have and where it is and what's the condition of those things? And that's the other great piece of what ikeGPS does with that Spike solution is that you can see here that in the photo that's captured within Survey 123, you can actually see where your measurements are coming from. The measurements and other data are all embossed within the photo, as well as within the metadata. And so it's as simple as just setting up the Survey 123 form, setting it up to create Spike functions rather than photo functions. And so there's some great resources that I'll actually reference at the end of my presentation here in just a little bit, where you can see how to set up Survey 123 forms for Spike. But it's a simple matter of just setting up the Survey 123 form for Spike, going out into the field, taking your photos. The measurements are then automatically populated within the forms. There's nothing else to do other than to point, click, shoot, and draw the measurements. And then from there, it's up to you as far as what that workflow does. Does it goes to a QA/QC stage? Does it goes directly into your ArcGIS database? That is entirely up to you. So what are some of the things that people are doing with Spike? Well, Spike's been around now for almost 7 years. And our top users have been, we're doing a lot of work with signage inventory, with DOT's right-of-way, geospatial hazards mapping. We're also doing a lot of code enforcement, so things around documenting where there are issues with graffiti, issues with vegetation, dead trees, other things like that. Disaster response, you've heard me mention. We even do quite a bit with DoD and Intel operations, with urban tactical operations and other things within the military and other stuff. So to save time and to get everyone back on track and on schedule, I won't go through all of these, but these are just some examples. Utilities, being able to do pole mapping, just a whole range of things. Because as you can imagine, the GPS location and the measurement of objects is pretty ubiquitous to a lot of things. It's just we've never had really good tools to be able to always do that. So what I'll do is that I'll start to wrap it up here. One of the key things that you heard me talk about is creating consumable data solutions, and Spike and Survey 123 help to do that. But we also just help make the economics of mobile field data collection better. Being able to minimize errors with photo verifiable and authoritative records, you can see where your measurements come from. Increased safety, collecting data at safe distances. So Spike has actually been used to collect and measure things like elephants and chimpanzee nests and other things that you don't want to get close to, right? So that's been fun for us. There are no additional licensing maintenance fees, right? So you buy the Spike unit and you have the app, and then if that's free, you're off and running. There's nothing else for you to do. You can learn how to use Spike in under an hour. But it's also a great way, and this is what I'll end with, is leveraging existing investments in Esri and mobile technology. Just about everybody on this call, in this call here, has a mobile device. Almost all of you have Esri technology. $500, and you're off and running and going out and collecting data in new and wonderful ways that you couldn't do it before. And I encourage you to do that and give that a try. My contact information is on screen here for you. And so you can give me a call or shoot me an email and say, hey, I've got this project idea. Has anybody ever done that? Or how would I do that? Or if you want to take a look at how Spike operates and how Survey operates together, we have a great video that's on our YouTube channel. You can click on this link here, as well as check out our website or anything else that you like.